Bad Batch series just released its 4th episode titled Cornered, and we got a long-awaited cameo in this episode. Let's get into the review.
Have you seen Star Wars?
So I apologize if my voice sounds a little weird. My throat is sore. It's kind of in pain at the moment. I don't have COVID, but I don't feel good, and I feel a little bad. But speaking of bad, The Bad Batch, Episode 4, Cornered, came out, and it seems like we're finally getting comfortable with the premise of The Bad Batch and where the story is going. It seems to slowly push along. It's not like Rebels or Clone Wars, where they have episodes that are just complete wasted fillers. This episode wasn't a filler because we got, of course, the big cameo, Fennec Shand. She's a bounty hunter hunting down Omega, and basically the Bad Batch has to protect her on this world. And the biggest standout for this episode, and I feel like for this entire series of the Bad Batch so far, is basically the animation. The background of this planet was amazing. I mean, it really looked beautiful. And now that we've been hearing that there may be future Star Wars animated films coming out over the next 4 or 5 years, I could really see Lucasfilm Animation delivering a high-quality movie, kind of like we did with the Siege of Mandalore for the Clone Wars. That looked very movie-esque, and now we're getting the same kind of animation when it comes to the Bad Batch. I think that's a good sign for Lucasfilm Animation going forward. In terms of plot, this episode was very simple. Fennec Shand is hunting down Omega, and the Bad Batch had to protect her. In terms of story, it's also very simple. We really didn't get a lot of development on anything. It's still a little bit more development on Omega. She mentioned in this episode that she's never been outside of Kamino, so that's something I don't think we really knew up until this point. And now we have a villain that is kind of on the tail of the Bad Batch that we know about, and that's Fennec Shand, who we all know from The Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2, and she'll also be a recurring character, I imagine, in the Book of Boba. So now that we have her as kind of the bounty hunter going after Omega, the question will be of who is hiring her? Why do they want Omega back? What is the uniqueness of Omega? We're slowly talking more and more about that, of what is special about Omega. And I think the question still is for a lot of people is if you even like Omega. I mean, me and my friend Lunga, of course, you guys know him from Chatooine, will do another episode this weekend. I still don't think he's a fan of Omega, but more importantly of the show or the series so far. And I feel like that's where we're at with this show at the moment, is that this is really geared towards fans like us, fans who are talking about Star Wars almost every day, if not every week, and we're very passionate about it. When something like this comes out, we're all there. We're there every Friday to watch new episodes of The Bad Batch. But with that said, this doesn't feel like we're watching The Mandalorian. It doesn't feel like I watch this and then the entire Star Wars fandom talks about this. The Bad Batch feels like it's on the back burner, despite being the only new Star Wars content we're getting right now. And I thought this episode was kind of evidence of appealing to a die-hard fandom, because it really shows not only the transition between the Republic into the Empire, but this episode, it was showing the citizens glorifying the Empire. And that part where Omega asks, like, why are they cheering? Because the war is over, like, isn't that good? And Echo says, well, it depends on what side you're on. And that made me and Miss Only, when we were watching it, really kind of reflect on this kind of moment in the galaxy. And that's what I like about this show so far, is that it's almost like watching history unfold. I mean, we all live through history. I mean, that's what makes it history. But I'm saying, as right now, since we all live through COVID, we all know in the next 20 to 30 years, we're going to be talking about COVID. And right now, it's a unique moment because it feels like we're somewhat transitioning between what we had during the pandemic and opening back up, getting back to normal. That's kind of what I look at with the Bad Batch series. Imagine having this republic, this democracy, the Senate, and then everything kind of changes now that the war is over, and it still, yet again, feels like the end of an era, but in a very dark sense of it's a celebration of, hey, the war is over, but now you have this empire who is changing everything, but the terminology they use is also kind of manipulative. I mean, you hear the guy on the speakers where he goes, oh, you can transfer your credits into Imperial credits thanks to the generosity of the Empire. It's at no extra cost. That's the kind of stuff that really drives home of how realistic this could feel for people who have lived through, I guess, authoritarian kind of governments and these kind of moments in history. But just seeing this being done on a galactic scale, from planet to planet, we see these cultures, these citizens, all these people in the entire galaxy watching this new government take over. And it's really cool to see that in a show like this, because instead of it being all grand like we see in the Clone Wars, where it's this giant galactic civil war, all we really care about is the battles and even the strategy of the battles and sometimes the politics, but now we're really getting into how this affects the common people. You're getting these chain codes, you gotta have a certain currency. There was that guy at the shop who was trying to buy a bomb from Hunter, and he didn't want to buy it. He said this would go well on the black market. But I also think that was a sign of, hey, when the war is over, who really needs these kind of weapons anymore? Who needs the bombs? They might go into stuff like that, but I really find it intriguing how realistic it feels that these guys are experiencing everything completely change for their world. I mean, even Tech was talking about how the Republic no longer supplies them with rations or currency or anything like that, or fuel, so now they have to go and do that on their own. And as a soldier, I imagine that would be very weird, because you were born and raised as a soldier, and now you're trying to act as a civilian, as a citizen, and act normal in this new galactic empire that just started within like the past year. It's a very, very cool take on this transition in this very unique moment in Star Wars history, and I really appreciate the way the Bad Batch is doing that. With that said, this episode wasn't amazing. It wasn't it's one of those things where it's like, it's consistently okay for me. The Bad Batch started really strong. It had a really good 70-minute premiere, and the next 3 episodes, then we're on the 4th one now, have been fine. They've just been consistently okay, and that's how I feel about this episode. Cornered, it was an okay episode. It's not my favorite. It's definitely not the best out of the 4 that we have right now. If I was going to give it a ranking, I would give it a 6 out of 10, and that's just me being honest. I liked it, didn't love it, definitely didn't hate it, so I'll give it a 6 out of 10. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you guys think about the latest episode of The Bad Batch? What are your hopes going forward? Who hired Fennec Shand? What is unique about Omega? And where do we go next? It seems like every episode we're going planet to planet, and I kind of like that, because then we can see different stuff on how the Empire is affecting the rest of the galaxy. Are we going to learn more about that? Because we do get 2 seasons of the show, and it seems like the story is just now picking up a little bit. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, then please give it a like or leave a comment, because it does about the channel. If you enjoy my content, become an Only fan. How do you do that? All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and you will stay up to date on the latest news in Star Wars. I'm Star Wars Only. I will see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.